Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to the lineup. Today is March the 21st, 2024. I'm Barry Stagner and really looking forward to our program this evening. I know you'll be blessed and encouraged as we have a very, very dear friend and special guest with us this evening, Amir Sarfati, a founder and president of Behold Israel Ministries, and really look forward to the insights that he's going to bring us regarding what's going on with the nation of Israel. And Amir, welcome to the lineup.
Shalom, Barry. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be
Shalom.
here.
Good to see you. And a couple of things I wanted to just maybe chat about for a moment before we jump in. One of them is, I know we all appreciate the updates on Connect and what's going on there, but maybe you could share the overall vision with this on the ground facility there in Israel and what the Lord has laid on your heart to do.
Yeah. So I think the first time I ever talked about Connect was at your church when we first gathered in your new building, and
Yes.
we had to sit down, talk, and you asked me, and during that time, I mentioned that I sensed that something big is going to happen, and I think that there's a need for me to be in Israel in 2024 and have my base here, and this is exactly what I've been doing. I am in the country. We're building our center here. We named it Connect because it's aimed to connect the people of Israel with the Bible, the people around the world with Israel, the news with the Bible. It's all about basically making sense of the crazy thing that is going on here all around the world, and especially in this part of the world. And I'm extremely excited because Connect is going to not only connect me with the country and also bring a better quality broadcasts. It'll also, for the first time since we began this ministry, it'll allow me to have a physical location to teach in person groups from around the world as well as Israeli believers. And so we're very much excited about that. Within a few weeks, it will be done, ready, and we hope to launch the place in mid-May of 2024.
Wonderful. Can't wait. Can't wait to see it. So
Yes.
excited for you and what God has laid on your heart. And, as you mentioned a minute ago, I thought it was interesting because we talked about this several times as we were traveling together in 2023 about what the Lord had laid on your heart. And I think it's just not just about Connect, but about being in Israel during that year, as you had used, terms like ominous and things like that, concerning what was coming in Israel. And then lo and behold, October 7th, everything changed for your country and for the Jewish people around the world, really. And it's pretty amazing that God cares enough about us to give us insight well in advance to do what He told you to do and to
Exactly.
stay home.
Yeah. And, it's a new era for me, also for the family, even for the church that I'm part of here. No one is used to see me that long. And the good thing, though, is that I do believe the urgency of teaching on mostly Bible prophecy, because there's so much despair and so much confusion, especially after October 7th. I mean, people are hurting, how could that happen? And so, the only hope that this nation has is the Messiah. The only hope for peace is when the Prince of Peace will come. Until then, we're going to see even worse things than what happened on October 7th. So it's important that we are going to have a place that, we can actually communicate that to the locals as well as to the world. And, Barry, it's not only about Israel. It's the body of Christ is under heavy attack of sensationalism and confusion and deception, and it's part of what I believe I'm called to do. And I'm not loved and appreciated for that, because it's not an easy thing to sometimes burst the bubble and But at the same time, we need to stick with the important things and let the fluff go away.
Yeah, the discouragement and despair and the things that you mentioned. I watched a video clip earlier, and I wanted to ask you about this also, where there was a lady from one of the many Instagram Israeli pages, that are supportive of the nation and the Jewish people around the world, and she was talking in a word of encouragement to Jewish listeners, especially those in Israel. And I wanted to ask you exactly, knowing, and we talked a little bit about this last time that you were on, how discouraging it is to see the world turn against an entire nation that you were born into, and that God has a very clear plan for in the last days. How important is it for the Jewish people, believers in Christ or Yeshua and otherwise, to have the support of individual Christians and people around the world? I mean, is that something that matters to the people of the nation?
Oh yeah, it matters so much. Look, Barry, we are under an enormous attack of deception in levels that I'm kind of familiar with, but most of the Israelis are not. And you have to understand that Israel has been engaged in an effort as a nation to be like the rest of the world, to be accepted by the rest of the world, to be a nation among the nations of the world. The liberals were always trying to hide their Jewish identity in order not to be different. And they were pushing progressive liberal agenda just because we're, part of the whole world. And October 7 comes, horrific things happen. These events happen in the physical location where the most progressive liberal Jews live. It happens in a music festival that is projecting peace and love and all of that. And in the midst of all of that, carnage and torture and death and that we have never seen in levels we've never seen before, all took place within a matter of a few hours. And you would think that the world will understand and agree that something has to be done. Well, the Jewish people were absolutely convinced that what happened cannot happen again, and the world definitely understands because it was filmed, it was documented, and now the world will definitely understand that we have to go and eradicate that evil. Well, no. In fact, what they see now is denial of what happened, justification of what happened, and if anything, the hope that something like that will even happen again in the future. And that shocked the Jewish people. Now you have to understand, it came as no surprise to me or to any conservative that understands exactly who we're dealing with. But you can imagine the shock of the peaceniks, those who were fighting for the rights of Palestinians, for the hopes of Palestinians, those who were advocating for Palestinian statehood, those who were always there for those poor people, those who thought that there are so many of them that are only there to live in peace with us. And they are shocked to find out that on the other side, they want to destroy us. And they are shocked to find out that the world is allowing those type of genocidal plans to be communicated all over the world without any interference.
Well, it's interesting as you were talking, I was thinking, what the diaspora couldn't do, a lot of people in the progressive left are trying to do today, and that's just get the Jews to assimilate, basically disappear. Satan, he's tried to conquer them and destroy your people, and now there's another tactic. Every other culture that has been scattered amongst other societies simply assimilated into those cultures, but not the Jewish people, because they stuck together in all the nations they were scattered to. But Satan obviously understands the role of Israel in Bible prophecy in the last days, and his hope in destroying the plan of God is to destroy the people of God. And just watching all this unfold, I think for any Bible-believing Christian who understands Israel's role, creates just a huge empathy in our hearts. I know it does mine for you and the people of Israel. And I wanted to talk to you about a couple of stories and have you comment on them regarding some of the things going on your borders, really, but specifically on the northern border. And I saw an article from the Jewish News Syndicate that asked the question, is a war against Hezbollah imminent? And this Iranian proxy on your northern border continues to be active in firing missiles and rockets in your direction, and seems to be just maybe waiting for something to push the ultimate button for an all-out attack. But does it seem as though a northern front is going to increase beyond even what it is right now?
Absolutely. 82,000 Israelis will tell you that they're not going back home unless we finally deal with Hezbollah. And to deal with Hezbollah is not to sign another meaningless agreement, an agreement that we signed in 2006 after the Second Lebanon War, which meant nothing to them because they're back on our border. And so we totally understand that another political wash away agreement is not going to do it. We need to take from Hezbollah its capabilities. And in order to do that, we must eliminate their capabilities or at least hurt them very badly. And we've been doing that. Look, at least the area next to our border, we've been cleaning it up from the air. Obviously, we haven't begun a ground maneuver, but a ground maneuver is the next thing. And we have 3 major infantry divisions and armored divisions along the border right now. We have been exercising over the last few weeks on the border, and we have plans ready. And I'm not going to tell you when, but we already have a date. I mean, for the northern operation to begin. We are waiting for a couple of reasons at the moment. First of all, we want to finish the job in Gaza. We could have finished it if it wasn't for the U.S. administration not insisting on us not going into Rafah, but we're going into Rafah. We made it very clear. We already have the Prime Minister approving the operational plan for the military operation. Now we have the plans to evacuate the population that needs to be approved and then implemented. We've got close to 1 million Palestinians in the Rafah area that we are going to move to areas northwest of where they are right now. We want to clear the city and go in and destroy the last 4 battalions of Hamas that are entrenched right in that city. We also want to discontinue the free flow of ammunition and weapons and goods from the Egyptian side under the ground, along the what we call Philadelphia corridor. And in order to do that, you have to have a ground maneuver. People don't understand that whatever is above the ground in Gaza is about 40% of our problem. 60% of our problem in Gaza is not above the ground, it's under the ground.
Right.
And so we need, in order to get there, you can't do it from the air. You have to go and you have to send your troops into those tunnels and then make sure that we destroy them after we map them and make sure that we find whatever we need over there. And so, again, don't forget, Barry, we have still 135 hostages that are there, of which I believe at least 50 are still alive. So we want to bring the dead bodies to be buried, and we want to bring the living hostages back home. And in order to do that, you cannot just drop bombs everywhere in Rafah. We believe we know where they are, by the way. We believe we know where the leadership is of Hamas as well. And this is why we're very careful in how we do things and what we do. And so this is unlike any other war we ever fought. By the way, it's already the second longest war in Israel's history. It's only second to the War of Independence. But we're already longer than any other war we fought since. And I will also tell you that we are looking into 2 years of cleaning up in Gaza. Neglection of 20 years cannot be solved and dealt with in just a few months. And one of the proofs to that is that we were in the Shifa hospital a few months ago, and now we had to go back because they're still around. They're under the ground. They are assimilating in the civilian population, and it takes time to clean up. And they were completely shocked that we got back to the hospital, and this time without any resistance. I mean, within 20 minutes we were there, surrounded the place, and they were trapped. And we called them out, and 90 terrorists were killed and 350 were taken, arrested. In fact, the hospital, not only that it was a place for terrorists, but right now the Israeli army has a whole corridor in the Shifa hospital where we are interrogating those whom we captured on the spot. And they give us valuable, this is a gold mine, because these are the terrorists that already survived 165 days. So then we don't care about what you know from the first week of the war. It's not valid anymore. But we care about what you know about the leaders of Hamas and how they managed to escape now. So a gold mine is there, and so we have a lot to do. We are doing it, and we will continue to do that. The northern front will be dealt with, and so other fronts as well.
Well, we hear a lot of comments from the negative side, regarding a humanitarian crisis and all that. And, I think one of the things that the world just turns a blind eye to is all the efforts that the IDF makes to give advance notice to vacate areas where there's going to be either an air or ground assault. And yet this seems to be just overlooked by, obviously, as you call them, the Medianites. And, there's just an indifference to all these efforts that are unprecedented in the history of war. People just don't do what the Israelis have done. And surprise is one of the key elements of any battle, and gaining the upper hand over your adversary. And yet you guys have been careful and cautious and alerting the civilian population, and yet the world, that's all they want to talk about is a humanitarian crisis. And yet, like you're talking about with this hospital, I've seen some of the pictures you posted and watched other videos about caches of weapons that are found inside of homes, and the things going on at the hospital as well as other places where they're basically terrorist headquarters or strongholds, or even like an armament depot inside of somebody's house.
Where is the United Nations? Where is the World Health Organization? Where's the International Red Cross? We just proved to the whole world then, but even more so now, this is a headquarters for terrorists. It's not a hospital. They were shooting at us from patients' rooms in a hospital. And so, look, we are engaged in a 3-dimensional war. It's a war above the ground, it's a war under the ground, and it's a war in the airwaves and in the media. And it's nice if you make advancement on above the ground or under the ground, but if you're losing the media one and the international pressure is mounting, and then you don't get munitions and you don't get help, nobody wants to sell you. I mean, I'll give you a secret, Barry, but many of our good friends are not selling us TNT right now because Russia is threatening them not to sell. We are dealing with a situation where we need to be very careful on how much we use our ammunition. And it's not look, we have quite a few challenges here. And again, the media is out there to blow up things out of proportion in order to apply pressure, so it will be translated in real help on the ground that we will not get anymore. But guess what? Guess what? They're going to lose, and we're going to win, because we know the end of the book, don't we?
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Yeah, you had something interesting happen down by Eilat that was, according to Times of Israel and other papers, a first. Maybe you can talk about what happened down there.
Well, we are subjected not only to attacks from Lebanon, but also from the Houthis in Yemen, as well as from pro-Iranian militias, or what they call the resistance, in Iraq and Syria. And they're using missiles and they're using drones. And so one of those missiles we believe from Yemen, because it came from the Red Sea, landed north of Eilat in an open space, in an area where we have cameras that are monitoring animals and the movement of animals in that region. So that's how we captured that footage that I posted on Telegram. It didn't hurt anyone. That's why there was no alert that was activated, because we could calculate that it's not going to fall on populated area. But this is what we deal with. We have literally rockets and drones flying from the south, from the southeast, from the southwest, from the northeast, and from the north. And the only area rockets are not flying towards Israel from is the Mediterranean Sea. But from every other direction, rockets and drones are flying, and we are so they're testing our systems, and we are testing our systems as well. And we are finding solutions. It's a fact that hundreds of missiles and drones flew at Israel from all directions, and yet nothing from Syria, Iraq, or Yemen hit or hurt anyone. So, I mean, it says a lot. We are definitely watching an effort of the Iranian proxies to attract the attention and efforts in order to let Iran buy time to do what Iran wants to do when it comes to the nuclear program over there. And that's what they wanted. They wanted Hezbollah to not only keep us busy before, but in case Israel is going to attack in Iran, Hezbollah is the one to punish us from the north. So let's put it this way. It's not really working for them, And as I said before, the Iranians were very surprised on October 7th, very surprised. And they also were pretty angry with Hamas, because Hamas did not coordinate with the Iranians the day. The plan was that on a given moment, everyone will attack at the same time. And the simultaneous attack would have probably brought Israel down on its knees. And I'm not even sure if I would be here to talk to you right now. But Hamas, doing what it did, basically caused the Iranians to say, okay, we're going to support your efforts, but we're not going to fight for you. And that's what we see. Hezbollah is just paying lip service and sending stuff, but they're making sure there's a line they don't cross. And Hezbollah has 250,000 rockets, of which 10% are precision guided. They could, Hezbollah can change the skyline of Tel Aviv if they want. And yet they understand that Lebanon will be destroyed and Hezbollah will be gone after that. So I think Iran is calculating its steps, and they don't want to sacrifice another important asset in the Middle East. So Hamas, they already understand they're going to lose it. They don't want to lose Hezbollah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you about that, because we hear not a lot of numbers floating around about what the hardware looks like on your northern border on the Lebanese side, and Hezbollah is not Hamas, as you well know, as far as their capabilities, and these aren't factory made, garage made missiles that are coming out of Lebanon. I mean, as you mentioned, there's a good percentage of them that actually have smart technology. They're not just a dumb bomb or a dumb rocket that just kind of you fire it in the general direction and it lands where it does. These have GPS guidance and all these other things, so they're very accurate, and so that's a major game changer, and that's why I wanted to lead with that question for you. Is there a Hezbollah Israel engagement on a different level coming in the future, and because that's a whole different animal than even what's happening on the southern border. And Amir, as you talked about, I always find it interesting, and I mentioned this on the lineup regularly, how bizarre it is for Israel to be told what to do by the U.S. or other nations. You're a sovereign nation, the only democracy in the Middle East. The Arab Israelis have wonderful opportunities to both practice their belief system, to hold jobs, own businesses, be members of Knesset, and yet none of that is recognized. It's all just negative, negative, negative. The UN, the United Nothing, passes some, I think it was 14 resolutions last year against Israel, and yet none against the aggressors, against your nation. And it's just, again, I think that points to the spiritual element of this that we're seeing happen in the last days.
Exactly. And I can tell you the sense among the Israelis is that it's time to disengage from America. The sense among the Israelis it's time to manufacture our own weapons. It's time to not lean on a country that thinks that we are its 51st star and state. We can clearly see that we do not see in the same way things, and we cannot allow that to basically set how we behave in a war that is an existential threat, And oftentimes, Barry, we talk about the fact that America must decline from empire status or superpower status for the Ezekiel war to take place. But I see it on both sides. I see not only that America is declining, but also Israel is interested in disengaging. And it's what we see now is we are alarmed that America will unfreeze $10 billion to Iran and yet I guess prohibit Israel from finishing its job with people who wants to destroy it. So we're calculating our moves. Now, of course, I am hoping that by November there will be a new president and a new administration but let's face it, until November, a lot can happen. I mean, we're only in March right now, and so much can happen. And so we understand that we cannot be hostages in the hands of lunatic, progressive, liberal administration that is completely giving up to the woke part of its party. It's just not, it's unbelievable. I also think that the Democratic Party must remember that many Jewish people in America are now reconsidering their vote for the Democrats. They can see what's going on. So they may gain the Muslims, but they are losing the Jewish vote. So I'm not sure if it's a smart move on Biden's behalf. Look, not only America, but also Europe, we're watching it. We're watching the Islamic takeover. And I strongly believe, Barry, that the rise of the Antichrist in Western Europe will be related to their complete wish to have a Western European leader leading the world and get rid of this Islamic takeover, especially after the Ezekiel war that will bring about an end to radical Islam to begin with. So it's very, very interesting. We're living historical times, Barry. I wouldn't want to live in any other time period. But we must be very strong and with perseverance and endurance and patience. These are things that more than ever before believers must be equipped with.
It's interesting that, the highest ranking Jewish official in the elected official in the history of America, Chuck Schumer, is calling for, Netanyahu's removal. And again, this strong arming and influence and threats of withholding financial support and all these things. It takes my mind to Zechariah chapter 12. And, if we don't want to be heaving Jerusalem away or throwing it to the dogs, so to speak, as the Lord's been very clear as to how he's going to deal with such nations. And, I know 12 to 14 of Zechariah deals with the tribulation period, but, we're watching things develop right now that are going to be ultimately fulfilled during the tribulation. And you just look at, I love the fact that, the book of Revelation talks about the things written there will shortly take place. That means they'll happen in quick succession.
Correct.
And, here we are. I mean, October 6th, the world looked one way. October 7th, it was completely different. And, we're just watching this escalation of movement toward the time of ultimate fulfillment, when the 70th week of Daniel comes back into play. And it's just bizarre to see, an American Jew kind of taking an anti-Israel posture, and this government's got to go, and yet this is all part and parcel of what the last days are going to look like.
I think that there is a coordinated effort between the radical left in Israel and the progressive movements in America to topple an elected government in Israel. They've been trying to topple Netanyahu for the longest time. Somebody in Israel thinks that it's a great idea to use the war as an excuse to remove him. And they went and whispered that in the ears of the US president and his party. And we see a collaboration of the radical left in Israel with the radical left in America. And it comes in two different ways. One, it comes in the way of politicians like Schumer, but it also comes in way of Thomas Friedman from the New York Times and others that are writing articles after articles after articles against Netanyahu. They literally blame him for everything. There's such a built-in hatred for the man. And these people lost their way. They lost their way. I mean, October 7th, if there is one person that you cannot blame October 7th on, is Netanyahu. Everyone else, all those radical, liberal, left-wing people that are now shouting to remove Netanyahu, they are the people behind it, because they're the people who told everyone that Hamas is deterred, that nothing's going to happen, and lo and behold, look what happened. They're the people who've been selling us this crazy illusion on the need for a Palestinian state. And look what the Palestinians want. They're the ones that are seeing blood rivers flowing, and they are not confused. They still are heading towards that wall. So look, the Israelis are not stupid. They can see that. They can see through that. And I'm not saying that Netanyahu will survive this, because look, October 7th is epic, and probably most of the government and the military leadership will be gone after the war. But he will not be removed before. He will not be toppled. He will not be kicked out. It will be democratic elections that will be held, whether it's next year or the year after. And I'm not even sure if he's going to run, but if he, in Israel, you cannot call yourself a Democrat and act in such a non-democratic way of trying to come against a legally, democratically elected government.
Yeah, that's right. There's talk about the U.S. putting pressure on Israel regarding an Egyptian Gaza fence, an intensified border fence that would cut off any smuggling of weapons into Rafah and elsewhere. And why is this just another ridiculous proposal? And why does Rafah need to experience what the other cities have in order to eliminate Hamas?
Well, look, there is no other solution. You cannot bomb from the air. You cannot make deals with anyone. We already understand. As long as even there is a single Hamas terrorist there, they will multiply. The ideology may not die, but we need to kill the terrorists. I mean, we cannot leave them to stay there and to start all over again. And make no mistake, the Israeli military not only is going to stay in Gaza, but is going to stay there for at least two more years. And if we think that we need to stay there, then why would we allow 4 battalions of Hamas terrorists still be intact? It makes no sense. Look, for the sake of the people of Gaza, we need to eliminate Hamas. The 2 targets of this war is to eliminate Hamas and free our hostages. If we're not doing both, the war will not end. For the sake of the Gaza, I don't understand how nobody's talking about the fact there's 134 hostages still held by Hamas. What is wrong with you? Why are you saying ceasefire now, without mentioning one single time to free the hostages immediately? Not tomorrow, not now. Free the hostages. Lay down your weapon. The war will end. Now, the war will end now. You lay down your weapon and you free the hostages. I promise you the war will stop instantly. No one is demanding that from the Palestinians. It's like, come on. Why did this war start to begin with? I mean, there was a ceasefire until October 6th, wasn't there?
That's right.
They decided that they don't want a ceasefire. They decided that they want to see us dead, killed, chopped to pieces, burned alive. That's what they want us. And they tried. And, 1,200 innocent people of civilians died, and, other hundreds of soldiers died and that day. And we will not forget that. We will not look, even if the world is denying what happened, we know what happened. We have the footage of it. We have the confession of those who did it. We have it. Now, you can believe me or you cannot, but it's not going to change the fact that it happened and that they are going to pay for it. And that's it. Look, I can't believe that the U.S. is now pushing for 2-state solution after October 7th.
Right.
What it sends is, and by the way, Mike Pompeo today basically tweeted the following thing, in which I agree with him full-heartedly. He said, establishing a Palestinian state in response to the October 7th massacre would be a clear reward for terrorism.
That's right.
All over the world, any resistance movement will know that if you want to get your independence, go and rape and behead and burn alive and kill, and you'll get it. That's it. It's not going to happen. If there was some sympathy or some tendency towards maybe entertaining in our minds a Palestinian state, it's gone. The Israelis are not there anymore. The Israelis understand the only thing the Palestinians want is not to live next to me, but live instead of me. It's not for nothing that they chant from the river to the sea. What is it between the river and the sea? The state of Israel.
That's right.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They don't look at the West Bank or Gaza. They look at Israel. That's what they want. And they're teaching their children that. And they're teaching, they are breastfeeding them with such poison. So when, if you want a clear page, if you want to start all over again, you need to wait You need a new generation. You need only the babies that are born now. Maybe one day will be people who would love to live in peace with us. Everybody now, from the age of 4 and on, is already poisoned.
Indoctrinated.
Yep.
Yeah. Amir, it's just, I think, one of the most heinous things that since this October 7th terrorist attack happened is to see some of these woke liberals chanting things like rape is resistance. And just, the mindset today is beyond bizarre. And, it reminds me of what Paul was talking about, the time coming of strong delusion. And what a delusional thing to say. And delusion is driving much of what we're hearing and seeing today regarding some of these pressures that are being put on you as a nation. It's like you were just saying, it doesn't make sense. The Palestinians don't want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution, and that is the state of Palestine and no Israel. And yet all of this is ignored, just because Satan hates Israel and wants to see the destruction of the Jewish people. So, again, we're living in times that, as you said, I agree. I am so thankful to be alive right now. We have more reason for confidence in the Word of God than any generation before us since the time that Jesus himself walked the earth as the Word of God. I mean, we're watching prophecies and precursors to fulfillment of prophecy happening all around us. And yet, as you mentioned at the start of the program, and I wanted to talk to you about this because we chatted a little bit, texting back and forth a couple of days ago about sensationalism in the last days. And, we're watching so many things happen that are valid, that are biblical, or at least pointing to biblical fulfillments down the road during the 70th week of Daniel. And yet people are going over the moon about the moon and, solar eclipse and all these other things. And here we are, we've got this whole thing, the blood moon phenomenon presenting itself again in these last days. And where you've got a total solar eclipse that's going to pass through a portion of the Midwest of the United States. And there's all types of chatter out there about this being a prophetic sign.
Well, I know personally people who left faith after the tetrad of the blood moons when nothing happened, and they were told that it's significant, it's huge. And to some degree, there was a hint that the rapture might even take place because the tribulation is about to start. And people were disappointed to the point that they just walked away from faith.
Yeah.
And I've seen that more than once. And just as I came against the blood moons as a sign for a rapture now, or the tribulation beginning now, and later on in the September 2017 Revelation 12 sign in the skies, I came against that as well. Look, I'm not against the word of God being fulfilled. And that's what people need to understand. I'm against the wrong teaching of it and the misleading that is coming with it and the deception. And I'm telling people, look, if you take things out of context, you will always be disappointed because it will never happen. It will not be the way you want it to be. Yes, I also want to be raptured now. In fact, I wish the rapture will take place in a second. And by the way, it can. By the way, it can. You see, the thing is, I don't need to wait for a solar eclipse for the rapture to take place. I don't think we need to wait for that. I think God is fully capable to take us now, and biblically, it will fit perfectly to what we know from. If Paul's thought that it can happen in his lifetime, how much more we can and allow to think that it can happen at any given moment right now. And to put a notion that a solar eclipse, and by the way, those eclipses happen all the time, every few years, and to say that this is it, A, it's not true, and B, it makes us look horrible in the eyes of the world, because every time we come up with stuff like that and nothing happens, everybody's laughing at us. And 3, it causes many believers to be confused, angry, disappointed, and to some degree, sometimes people walk away from faith. And I I said that then, and I say that it again now. What Jesus talked about in Luke 21, what Daniel, what Joel, what Revelation talked about, these are things that will take place during the tribulation. I'm not against it. I know there will be signs in the heavens. I know things will, I know that the sun will darken. I know that the moon will look like blood and all that. All of these things will take place. I'm not against it. I don't deny it. I just know that scripturally they will be part of the tribulation. And if I am a pre-tribulation rapture believer, I am not going to be here to see those things. Right. So you're basically forcing me to say that if I'm not to be here during the tribulation, and these events are events of the tribulation, then on April 8th, the tribulation must already happen, which means that I must be raptured before April 8th, which is date setting, that is wrong to begin with. And so what happens is by April 9, people will see that they're still here, and that the tribulation hasn't begun because the Antichrist is not even here yet to rule. Maybe he was born. Maybe he's around us, but he's not yet revealed. So all of these things, it makes me sad more than anything else. Makes me sad because here we are. We, both of us, by the way, Barry, we dedicate our life to teach people on Bible prophecy so they will not fall into this. So they will not be confused. They will not be deceived. They will not be, but we want to encourage them, not to discourage them, not to bring them down, but to, and sometimes we're the bearers of bad news. Sometimes we're the ones that say, you know what? That's not true. It's not true.
Yeah, Amir, what you said is so important because not only does it discourage people, it discredits the message. Exactly. And, when you're talking about, well, this is going to happen in the future, that's going to happen in the future, and you start talking about things that clearly show themselves to be unrelated to what supposedly is prophetic, then who's going to believe that some guy's going to rise up out of the revived Roman Empire and deceive the whole world and cause the world to take a mark? And then, it just, to say nothing of what it does to the gospel. And we look like a bunch of kooks when we say kooky things. And, the whole of the message gets discredited. And that's why it's just so important to stick to the facts. And, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The Bible is sensational enough. It doesn't need us to add clickbait or anything else to it to communicate something that's just divine in nature and supernatural. Yeah. And Amir, we've got a couple opportunities coming up, and I'm looking forward to it. We had such a wonderful time on the Alaska cruise. Actually, I was speaking somewhere last Friday night, and the couple that sat next to me was on the Alaska cruise and is booked for the Mediterranean cruise. And we've got some great opportunities coming up later in the year, and looking forward to that. And there's not only are we going to be moving through, as we have in the past, revealing Revelation and teaching the book of Revelation in its entirety in a short span of time. But now what's the May date for Discovering Daniel?
I think May 4th.
May 4th.
Yeah, I just received yesterday from Harvest the copy of the actual book and of the workbook that is coming with it. And I'm so excited. It looks great. And of course, as you can see, it is very similar to the I guess
Revealing Revelation.
Revelation. Yeah, So I'm very excited about that, and more so to teach it with you on both the Mediterranean cruise in October and next January in the cruise to the Caribbeans. And in 2025, look, I promised not to travel in 24, but in 25, I'm excited to travel again with you in Asia, South America, Europe, North America. So get ready.
Yeah, it's been, and I told you this. I'm still doing a little bit of travel and speaking at different places, and and it's just odd to go. And when I get off the plane, you're not on the other end. So I'm looking forward to us getting back at it together, and
Yeah.
to teach these massive books in just a single setting in the span of the length of a cruise is just a wonderful opportunity. I'm looking forward to both of those
Yeah.
coming up. So, if you haven't pre-ordered Discovering Daniel, you really need to do that, because these things are so important in getting the word out there to the world, and causing those who are in the brick and mortar stores to consider putting a book on the shelf. It's the pre-orders that they look at, and once those numbers reach a certain level, then places that need to have this book, like Target and Walmart and other stores that have a significant book section, are going to put it on the shelf. So, I'm grateful for the books that we've done together, or book we've done together, and my own book, my recent release, Time of the Signs. The people that are ordering these in advance, just I think on Amir's behalf and mine, I could say thank you for
Yes.
that, because it is just a tremendous help. So, where can they register for these upcoming cruises?
On our website, if they go to beholdisrael.org, they'll find a place where they can register to. There's tours and cruises and all of that, and over there they can definitely sign up for the October and the January one. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a wonderful opportunity to teach both the book of Revelation and Daniel on one single cruise. But I can't wait. I can't wait to do that. And in between, to see some nice locations. So it's a win-win. Let's put it this way.
Yep, I agree. Well, like I said, Alaska was fantastic. It was
Yeah.
just, what was it, 920 people?
Yes, and this
so-
time, the Mediterranean will be less than that, because we had smaller. It's a smaller venue. The meeting place on the big ships is actually smaller. So we took less than that, probably about 500 or 500 or maybe 600 people. But it's okay. We don't.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking back to when we were on the Alaska cruise. The whole ship was talking about what is going on with this big long line of people. And one of the funny things was that the line of people waiting to get into the theater for the teaching sessions went through the casino. And
Exactly.
here's all these on fire believers talking to people in the casino about the Lord, and it was just a fabulous opportunity, a witnessing opportunity as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
I don't think the casino really appreciated us.
No.
but at least the people there heard that multiple conversations, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, they did. Well, my friend, great to chat with you and see your face and hear your voice, and we're praying for Israel. We're praying for you. Excited about Connect, and looking forward to the things that are going to take place later in the year. So thanks for giving us a little bit of your time. I know you got a million things going on, but much appreciated. And we are praying for the peace of Jerusalem, and praying for the Prince of Peace to make himself known amongst the Jewish people. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Again soon. Shalom.
Shalom.
Well, that's it for this week. And, be praying for Amir and the nation of Israel as God has obviously brought the people back for the purpose of fulfilling the 70th week of Daniel and all those other things. And we are so privileged to be alive right now and watch these things happen. So I hope you were encouraged this week. And, I think we have a responsibility to those who are out there around us who are chanting foolish things. And, I just watched interview after interview where someone, is asked a question, what river, what sea? And people, they don't know. They can't even answer the question themselves. They have no clue what they're chanting, but they're just following the masses and doing, what somebody they know has told them they need to do. So let's get out there and be truth bearers in these last days. And, Jesus is coming soon. I don't, some say you should never say soon, but, we're deep into the generation that will not pass away. And I think with our understanding of eschatology and the things we're watching and even talking about today, I don't know the day or the hour and wouldn't dare speculate, but it sure seems like each day is a better candidate than the day before for that moment and twinkling of an eye. So with that said, that's it for this week. And thank you for joining us on the lineup. And we'll see you here, there, or in the air. God bless.